We're joined today by Khadija Rossi. Khadija is a biohacker and nootropics enthusiast, and I'm thrilled to have her on the show today. Welcome.
Hi, Nick. Thanks for having me on. I'm so excited.
Likewise. What are some of the usual or unusual and non-negotiable things that you've done for your health and performance today?
Oh, for me today, it's definitely been waking up and taking a nice bath, just a nice, relaxing bath.
Sometimes it's the simple things.
It is. It really is. Especially if you spend yesterday doing a lot of workout, like really intense workout.
Yeah, I find the workout side is easiest for me, and then the rest and recovery, the unwinding, the downtime is where I need the most work.
hmm
So what's your background? How did you get into biohacking and I guess this alternative approach to health optimization?
Yeah. So for me, I got into biohacking. I was first introduced to it through one of my boyfriends. He was in tech and he was just into all the new cutting edge stuff. And he just told me about these like interesting supplements and things like that. And for all of my life, I've been interested in how do I look the best I can? How do I feel the best I can? And through that introduction, I then started looking at, oh, how do I improve my sleep? How do I stay up more and get more out of it? So I learned about nootropics and I learned about this thing called full stack. So I'm also in tech. And it was this nootropic supplement targeted at engineers. And I said, if it's good enough for engineers, it's good enough for me. I'm in design. So I started taking it and I definitely felt a difference. And then from there, it's just been more and more gradual. You move out of the grocery store and then you actually start to look on Reddit and you look at different websites, and then suddenly you're taking something that has to be translated from mice dosage to human dosage, and you feel like, okay, I'm now doing biohacking.
So it sounds like to get into biohacking, which we'll talk about what it is to you in a second. First of all, you must be like naturally curious, or maybe not naturally curious, but curious.
Yeah, definitely. You have to want to do more. You want to explore. You want to push the limits, and you feel comfortable going outside of what's considered like normal or routine. And you're not afraid of that. I think that many people especially like entrepreneurs or people in tech, they want to go outside of the box a little bit, and they're not afraid to do that. I mean, when I talk to other people about biohacking, they just kind of glaze over and are like, why would you do that? But for people like us who are passionate about it it just makes sense and it feels natural.
It's something it's hard to explain, but if you have that drive to improve every day and you're looking for those
hmm
ways on your own, then biohacking is the natural application of it to health and performance.
Definitely.
So now that we've said the word a bunch of times, what is biohacking to you?
So biohacking for me is just number one, it's getting to know your body and then taking small incremental steps to optimize your body and your environment and lifestyle to live at the most optimal levels, feel the best, look the best, obviously think clearly, improve your mood, all of those things. So biohacking is just a set of small steps that gradually form this whole system and lifestyle that depend on supplements. It depends on your diet, obviously, is heavily influenced, um, sleep, um, just everything related to health goes into biohacking. And it's more also about utilizing the most cutting edge sort of anti-aging or supplements or herbs, because you're using all of these different healing modalities. You're using all of these different methods to reach your fullest potential. It's not just doing yoga. It's not just doing a vegan diet. It's blending all of those things that work for your body, and then checking and refining and creating that full system.
The way I like to think about it is it's looking at the world through a bunch of different lenses and then handpicking what you like from each of the different fields and creating your own approach to what I guess we call biohacking.
Yeah, Definitely. You have to know your body.
There's a whole spectrum of biohacking. One is just like simple diet improvements. And then on the other side, it's the radical DNA therapies and
Yeah.
implanting chips under the skin. Where do you fall along that spectrum?
I've done the IV infusions, so I feel like I reached a new tier. I'm not just taking pills. I I definitely don't think that I'll ever get to the spectrum of implants and, putting technology into my body. I feel like as the body itself is this incredible supercomputer, like we
Yeah.
are like phenomenal technology. Our brain is a phenomenal technology. So I just am really more on the spectrum of utilizing spirituality and then also science to unleash and raise your energy level, raise your frequency, and heal yourself and reach that pinnacle, I guess.
I might be butchering it, but there's a Steiner quote I like that's something like, man will continue looking outside himself until he realizes that all the same technologies are inside himself. And so if we look at like red light therapy, that's mimicking natural light exposure early in the morning and late in the evening. And there's all kinds of different examples, like grounding pads are replicating like grounding outside on bare earth. There's so many examples of those, and I think it's apt.
Yeah, definitely. All of this stuff is, a synthetic version of what we already have. Like, I firmly believe in the ancient past, human beings were able to be telepathic and we had, all of these different superpowers, I would say. So, yeah, I definitely think that we have it inside of us.
And modern science is now starting to realize that there's actually validity behind a lot of these ancestral practices that have forgotten for millennia and are only starting now to reintroduce.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing is like the higher you go in, science and technology, the more it starts to look like magic and mythology.
Yeah. So in the biohacking world, what are you most interested in researching these days?
For me, the thing that I'm most interested in researching would definitely be the adaptogens and, aphrodisiacs. Anything that's going to reduce my stress and help me like feel better and feel raise my like prana levels, I would say, raise that frequency. So yeah.
Why adaptogens? Like, how did you come across them, and which ones are you interested in?
Yeah, so I think typically a lot of because I've been trying to understand how do I communicate biohacking to more women, more people, more friends, because there's a lot of guys into biohacking, but there's not a lot of women who are actually into biohacking. And so I've been looking at what are those like channels? And for me, adaptogens are a great starting point because you can go into like an herbal store. For example, I lived in San Francisco, the Bay Area, and we have a lot of herbal stores and they're filled with adaptogens. And I found rhodiola. And when I found that, I was like, okay, this is it. This stuff is real. And then I tried blue lotus and I tried maca, and it was just like, whoa, these things really, really work. They're super potent. And I just love that they give you such a great benefit. And for me, looking at adaptogens and like aphrodisiacs, what I like the most about them is they're really fast acting. They're really powerful and
Yeah.
fast acting. I think that's the main difference because normally when you take an herb or something or any supplement, usually it takes a lot of time to actually feel like a difference, unless it's like a placebo. But um, with adaptogens, it's usually like within a couple hours. So
Yeah. They're some of the only supplements you take and you feel, but then don't have because of the class they're under. Adaptogens, a whole class of supplement, that they don't have a lot of the negative side effects and repercussions that a similarly strength alternative supplement might.
mhm.
What about maca? Why maca specifically?
It just raised every level. It was nourishing. It gave me a better mood. It helped with just my overall outlook on life. It It gives you a boost in terms of your libido. It makes you want to be more alive. It makes you feel more alive. And it's really accessible. I really like that because no matter where I was, if I was like traveling, I could usually find maca powder, and just take it and know that I would be okay and know that I wouldn't be exhausted because I'm originally from Chicago. And usually when I would travel back home to Chicago, you know, they have not the greatest food. It's the Midwest. So I would
Yeah.
always make sure, even, 10 years ago, I would always make sure I could find my maca powder. So
Uh,
it's just been a staple.
I'd say that libido is the number one sought after and known benefit of taking maca. What is it about libido that you think is misunderstood?
So I think that people, number one, we equate sexuality with like this base thing and it's like animalistic and it's dirty, essentially, when it's not. It's like the original energy of life. It's the energy that helps perpetuate life. So you can, if you look at alchemy, you can transmute that type of energy. It doesn't have to be, translated to bumping and grinding. It can be translated to unleashing your creativity, unleashing your just will to live and
Yeah.
and your drive to live. That's essentially what that sexual libido energy really is. It doesn't have to be, what we equate it to. So if you can tap into that source, that's like a never-ending source of, of great
Yeah.
energy.
And that's something that's also been written about for a long time. I know that some of the ancient texts also mentioned the power of sexual energy, not for sex, but for transmutation into other things. Like you
Yeah.
said, creativity, and that's obviously a big one, but idea generation, productivity, like so
Hmm.
many other facets that aren't recognized for the most part. But even in some of the more modern, like 20th century works on, there's a book called like How to Think and Grow Rich or something like that. And the author talks a lot about that same power that you mentioned.
Yeah, and I think a lot of men are utilizing that also. Like if you look at, men's health and they're utilizing, translating sexual energy to something more potent. And I think a lot of women, as women, our hormones, we constantly have to be keeping them in check. We constantly have to be managing them. I think a lot of women would benefit tremendously from, utilizing that sexual energy and that libido energy for their life as well.
This is the first time I've heard about using a supplement or a compound to increase that like vital life force energy.
I know, but that's what libido is. I mean,
Yeah.
it's essentially that. It's just almost the same as prana, but I think prana is more neutral term for it.
So when you're discovering these new things, whether it's maca or it's blue lotus, how are you going about like researching and determining if this is the right thing for you? Like what's your process look like there?
Okay, yeah. Well, when I started, this was like 10 years ago. When I started, I would just look at the back of the packaging and, ask the store owner, smell it, take a look at it, do the basic human, check something out, go online, obviously, but not really heavy research. And then from there, now what I do is I definitely go in depth. The more complex I feel something is, you really want to be precise with it and do your research and look online and see what other people what the effects are, because whenever you push in one direction, you're pulling in
Uh,
another direction. So
yeah.
you have to make sure you keep everything in line, and then also start with like low dosage. Don't just pile it on. I learned that with the maca powder. I took a tincture
Uh,
of it and I was just lit for like days. It was hard to even like settle down because it was just too much. So start with the low dosage, be mindful, like have an intention of what you want it to do to you, have clear goals that you're trying to achieve, so that way you know you can be able to even just look a week later, say, oh, I've been taking this, is it really achieving what I want, so that you can verify if it's working for you.
I interviewed a master herbalist, and she was saying that tinctures can be a lot stronger than the powder version. So even if you know, like, okay, I respond well to maca powder, it's still a good idea to do what you did and start with a low dose. If you switch to a tincture to see how your body responds to it, because they're two different forms, like two different delivery methods with different potencies.
Yeah. Yeah. that tinctures, I've definitely found that to be the case. And anything that you're taking also, as especially as women, I feel like we have to be careful about like what it does to our hormones, because
Totally.
yeah,
It's
it's
an
intense.
important caution. I'm a big fan of bioregulators. One example of which is peptides, because they tend to, instead of bluntly forcing the bodily systems in a certain way like most medication does, it merely suggests it, and the body has the chance to override it. So they tend to be safer and better tolerated.
Yeah, I haven't really looked at like specific categories, but that's something I definitely need to look into, just how the peptides work in general. Because I'm always just looking, okay, what does this do? Do I think it will help me? Does it feel right? And then I just, dive in.
Yeah, and I think for biohackers, it's most important to heed the precautionary principle, meaning if you're going to take on something new, first see what the possible risks of it are. And if the
Yeah.
risks are high, then you should probably wait until more data emerges or that you understand more about it. But if it's low potential for risk, and then you can move forward without as much worry and do some more experimentation.
Yeah, definitely. And I always look at, okay, how is it going to affect my liver? And then how is it going to affect my digestion? Like, because if it affects your liver, then at least for me personally, I'm just like, okay, I really need to be careful and really be cautious. And if it affects your digestion, there's things that you can do to offset it if it's, going to upset your digestion a little until you get acclimated to it. But if it's serious on your digestion, you could, have a lot more problems
Yeah.
stack up.
Yeah, I actually had a little bit of rice earlier, and I don't usually have rice in the middle of the day, but I had some berberine to offset the blood glucose spike,
Mhm.
and I've found that berberine does upset my stomach a little bit, so I'm wondering what else is going on there. Have you played around with tracking your blood glucose?
I've been doing like the keto.
Hmm.
And so I'm trying to get like really fat adapted. I perform much better when I have like really high fat, like omega 3s, like, everything that way. And I noticed that I'm also hypoglycemic. I've been hypoglycemic my whole life. And until I started doing keto and really tracking it, I didn't realize that's the
Oh,
case.
interesting.
So yeah. But at the same time, I also have to exercise a lot because it helps manage my ADHD. So there's this like web. And when you're doing keto, you're not necessarily supposed to do high intensity workouts or anything like that when you're starting off. So that has been an interesting sort of roller coaster, because it's like I couldn't just follow one direction path. I had to just slowly build it up
Yeah, and
without gaining weight. Because if you're eating a lot of fat and then you're also having to have a little bit more carbs than usual because you're exercising, then yeah, you'll gain weight. But luckily I pulled it off so that I'm sort of just coasting.
I had a Nutrisense continuous glucose monitor, so I could see how my body was reacting to the
Oh, wow.
carbohydrates I'd eat. And then I also had this little device. It's called a Lumen, and it tracks like your metabolic state, whether you're burning carbs or fat. And I was able to see that if I do intense workouts, I can get away with about 100 grams of carbohydrates afterward and still stay in ketosis without any like real negative repercussions like brain fog and other things that people report when they have a big carb binge.
Oh yeah, I heard of that Lumen. That's the thing that I need to move on to next, is really getting that external tech to better track and monitor. Cause yeah, I heard of that. And I think that sounds like a really great thing. Cause I think that I can actually handle more carbs also. I don't have to be like, like no carbs in order to stay in keto.
Yeah, I was adhering to the 20 grams of net carbs per day for a while, and then I wasn't sleeping well. I was starting to have some thyroid and cortisol issues, waking up at 2,
Mm.
3 in the morning. And then I realized that I could have some carbohydrates and get away with it. So I started titrating up, adding a little more every day. And I realized, oh, I can actually handle a lot more than I thought. And then I got the external technology to verify that, yes, like I'm actually in the state I think I'm in, the way I feel. I'm not actually, like, my blood glucose isn't actually surging.
Yeah, keto is going to just unfold more and more, and it's not going to be a one size fit all. I think that the keto that people usually follow is for middle of America, just regular average Joe who's trying to lose weight, but for us, we're more in tuned and our bodies are just more sensitive. So we can actually handle more and process more and do that sort of keto thing without, starving ourselves of
Hmm.
carbs.
I've noticed that when I follow it strictly for a long time without having any carbohydrates ever, then when I have like a few grams of rice or I have like half of an apple, I'll feel really tired afterwards. So I think it's important
Yeah,
to cycle it at least every once in a while and reintroduce some amount of carbohydrates.
definitely. Definitely. We need those fruits. I need fruit. I can't help it.
Especially in the summer.
Hmm. Yeah, the raspberries, they need to happen. I don't care.
Along the lines of ketosis, I mean, a lot of us do it for the cognitive enhancing, the mental clarity aspect. There's also a whole category of ingredients that impact the mind positively, sometimes called nootropics. Other people call them smart drugs. I don't like that term because I see a difference between the two. But what are some of your favorite nootropics?
So, number one, I would have to say modafinil. That has been super fun to try. It was what I started using to help manage my ADHD initially, like last year, and I found it was great. I mean, it wasn't all I could do. Like I've gotten more refined things for that, but in general, modafinil has been great to just get that mental clarity and just feel just level set and good. And then from there, I really enjoy Simax. I can't even get into what it is, but I definitely enjoyed it. The cognitive benefits of it. It helps just like clear my mind and make sure I'm just on point and focus in a way that's not as in a way that's more subtle than modafinil. Modafinil is like, hey, we're gonna do this. Let's go.
Yeah.
But Simax is like just, oh look, we're just walking through the garden. Everything's nice and
Yeah.
calm and easy.
Feels like the day just goes by easier, whereas modafinil is like energy boost, like you're on it, like go, go, go.
Yeah.
And C-Max is a little more like laid back, like more effortless.
Yeah, more effortless, more subtle. It's just nice.
How'd you take it? What was the delivery?
Oh, nasal spray.
Nasal spray. Yeah, that's what I have too.
Yeah, the nasal spray. And I keep it in the refrigerator. Don't let it get hot.
That's
Like,
good to
don't let
know.
it get warm. Yeah. And then the last one that I like is 9-MeBC. And I know that it has properties to help heal your like nervous system and like, things like that. But for me, I know that it's doing something really powerful because usually when I take it, unless I'm taking like a really strong stimulant, I'll be asleep, like I'll pass out in
Ah,
like midday. So I'm not sure it's healing something that it
interesting.
has to reboot my system.
Yeah, that's one of the things when your body is healing. A lot of times you'll sleep longer, you'll feel drowsy earlier. Sometimes you'll have Herxheimer
Mhm.
reactions, where a so-called detox reaction, where your body's saying like you don't feel good, but it's because your body's eliminating the chemicals and toxins it needs to. How'd you
Yeah.
discover 9-MeBC?
So I just found it, I was through suggestion. And I usually I have some people who do biohacking that I know and they suggest it and they seemed fine. So I said, why not try it? And it didn't look like the side effects would be bad and looked mild enough. So
Uh-huh.
yeah.
I think it's a peptide. Actually, I'm not sure. I know C-Max is a peptide.
Yeah, yeah, I think it is as well.
How do you go about evaluating like how much to add? Because if you look at my cabinet, I have about 100 supplements and nootropics and different ingredients, and I get them all excited. Some of them stick. A lot of them I use a couple times and they get stored away because didn't like them for whatever reason. But how do you go about like choosing what's going to stay in your core rotation?
Yeah, my core rotation. So something like, let's say, for example, I'll take NAD supplements and I'll take beetroot and I'll take, some sort of adaptogen, typically, off and on. Like I'll have a core like minerals and those basic vitamins like B6 and things like that. And K2. I'll
Hmm.
take those as my core. And then I'll use certain things like the 9-MeBC as like a therapy. Like I'll know that, okay, I'll take it for this week. Whatever it's doing, it's pretty powerful. I'll take it for this week and then I'll give my body a rest. Or I'll take a maca for a week and then I'll give my body a rest. Because I think that they're more like therapies. They're coming in, they're doing a lot, they're pushing and moving a lot. So I don't want to overwhelm my body and overwhelm my system continuously with those things.
Yeah, it's easy to get lost in the rabbit hole of trying this one day, this the next day, and all of a sudden you realize you've been jacking your body and neurotransmitters up every single day for the last who knows how long.
Yeah, and you need to just stop
Uh-huh.
taking anything.
Yeah. Do you do that? Do you cycle off everything?
Yeah, some days I'll just not take it if I don't feel like it. I try to use my intuition around it. I just, don't take it and just give it a break. Give myself a second to just breathe and, especially when I'm like doing a fast, I'll just like fast on everything. I'll just not take supplements, I'll just drink water and just chill out.
What's your fasting routine look like?
Yeah, so I typically do intermittent fasting. I usually stop eating around 8 or, typically like 7:30, and then I'll eat around noon. And then I'll have like, really heavy, like oily, fatty breakfast. And then I try to do 36-hour fast like once a month. Typically, I'm trying to be honest, I'm not doing it like every week.
Yeah.
But just do it at least like once a month. But when I really started to get into fasting, I would be fasting like 3-4 days, like
Hmm.
every 2-3 weeks. The
Wow.
longest I did was like a 5-day water fast.
Uh-huh.
And surprisingly, I was okay. I was
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So,
It's amazing what the body's capable of doing. And I try and do something similar where every month, or not every month, every quarter, I'll do a 3-day fast. And then
mhm.
maybe about once a year, I'll do a longer 5-day, 7-day water fast. And the first time I did it, I was blown away that I can actually go this long without feeding because it was only a couple years ago where I was eating huge meals, 5 meals a day, and
Oh,
stark
wow.
contrast to multiple day water fasts.
I know the body is just so resilient and so amazing. But I think fasting is like, if I'm recommending biohacking or any sort of optimization to anyone, is definitely to start fasting. You're going to feel the results immediately from that.
Yeah. But one thing I always caution people with about fasting is that you want to start fasting when you have all your other stresses under control. If your
Hmm.
so-called allostatic load, your stress bucket is through the roof, fasting like exercise, like sauna, like all these healthy modalities, if you're under a lot of stress, can be too much. So it's important to make sure that you take care of the other things first and you don't just add a 5-day water fast onto all these other stresses piling up.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. Because, yeah, you can just break yourself easily.
Unfortunately. You mentioned that
Yeah.
9-MeBC and some other things you take in order to heal the nervous system. Why is that? Why are you fascinated by healing the nervous system specifically?
Um, so I know that I did damage to my nervous system when I was younger because I just know it. I had really bad back pain from stress. And when I was young, like when I was like in my early 20s, like 17 to like 24, I'd had really bad back pain. And that was all from stress. And I just know that my nervous system is janky, especially with the ADHD. That could be me just naturally having ADHD, or it could be inflammation. So yeah, I'm just focused on, slowly, repairing that. And also I didn't sleep well. I would stay up a
Uh,
lot when I was younger. So I feel like I feel like I wrote it a little hard there.
yeah. So what are you doing? Are you activating like the parasympathetic branch of the nervous system to offset, to heal and repair?
Yeah, definitely. I am. I'm trying to stick to routines, rituals, breathing, meditation. Not really meditation, but just deep breathing. I even noticed that like I don't breathe the way you should. I don't do those like
Mm,
deep relaxing breaths that actually massage your, organs and massage and activate that nervous parasympathetic nervous system. So yeah, for me it's a gradual thing and just doing the breathing, but I know there's more out there I can do to help heal my nervous system. It's just right now I think my body is not ready to take that leap yet. I more just want to get my diet and get my overall focus together more, and then I'll just do that deep dive. Because after taking the 9 EBC and seeing how that just knocks me out, um, I know that when I do that full like nervous system repair regimen, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a lot. I'm going
Yeah.
to have to be dedicated to it.
Yeah. Start with the basics, and then once you master those, then move on.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. For that 9 MEBC and some in the CMAX and other things you take, there's certain things that I've noticed impact the way I feel them and the extent to which I feel them. What are some of the things you use to get more out of your nootropic supplements?
So to get more out of my nootropic supplements, definitely exercise. Exercise, and then also take something that will, like cayenne pepper, that helps get your blood flowing.
Mm-hmm.
That definitely helps. So just something to get your engine started a little bit so that you can have that blood flow and have those things working. And also obviously sleep, duh, because when you take those supplements to help your brain, move faster and do better, it could deplete other areas and really just take you down the next day. Like the harder things, like especially if you're doing modafinil like day in and day out for like a week and you're not getting enough sleep, and you're going to be drained, depleted for sure.
You're overriding the body's built-in like defense mechanisms against overworking itself, and when you
Hmm.
disable those protections, you're setting yourself up for a hard crash.
Yeah, definitely. And even simple things like Alpha Brain, that's a nootropic. You can buy it in grocery stores. That one is like really strong, and you can take that just simple. It's just like B6 or in it, just a bunch of other things, but
Hmm.
that one alone can just really knock you out if you're not paying attention.
You mentioned earlier there's a parallel between spirituality and cognitive enhancement or nootropics. What is that?
Spirituality, I think, is super essential. And I want to see that tied more into the biohacking, because I think that we are these infinite beings. We have a soul. I firmly believe in all that. You're trying to optimize the body so that it can basically download that higher level, that higher self into that body. And you have that will to project out into the world and, modify the world and do what you want to do and make sort of shape reality. So when your body is at full charge, it's running at the best levels, you're not in a diseased state, and you have that full will and you have that high level of prana. That's the goal of biohacking, is to connect the two and to blend it together. So that's for me the goal of biohacking. So I think spirituality definitely plays a part into it. What feeling we get of this, in heightened mood and inspiration and creativity and this, high energy that we're looking for, that's feeling alive. That's feeling like our true self. So yeah, spirituality is definitely going to play a role. If mentally I'm not feeling good, then taking as many supplements as I want to take, that's not going to change or shift it. It can help, like it could help override and give me a bump so that I can reach that state that I want and get back into that positive mindset.
That's one of the goals of the show is to link the two, the mind, body, but then there's also the third dimension, and that's spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Once you start working on one, say you work on the mind, then the body can follow suit. Like a lot of the gains
Yeah,
you get from exercise are neurological, and then once you've optimized mind, you go on to the body. Optimizing the body is easier, and it's like a chain. So no matter where you start, once you start one of them, it makes optimization of the others easier.
exactly. They all work in tandem. Yeah, that mind is that bridge between the physical and the spiritual. So
I like that.
you want to work on all three levels.
Yeah. What are some of the core practices in your daily routine?
I like to take baths. I like to exercise. Exercise is really good, even if it's just walking. I think people don't give enough credit to just going on a walk. And luckily, I have a dog, so it's easy to do that. Then it's having a really, really good breakfast and taking my supplements,
So,
obviously. um,
is your breakfast the noonish lunch you were talking about?
yeah, that's my
Uh
breakfast.
huh.
I typically take it around that time.
Yeah.
Um, and then a core practice. And then from there, I have to do a lot of either like vlogging or that's how I do journaling. I think that vlogging works for me, the visual aspect of it. So that's definitely a core process because it helps ground me. As
Mm.
I'm a Pisces, so not to get into that, but I tend to be like daydreamy and up in the clouds. And then when you compound that with ADHD, it's like
Uh,
we're gone. So so do something grounding, which is the exercise and journaling. And then from there, just especially during COVID, I learned how important like self-care, self-maintenance, like doing
uh,
your hair, getting dressed, all of those things, I think help, you know, put you together and make you feel ready to take on the world.
okay. Well, since you've been focusing a lot on that recently, what are some of your tips for better hair or skin or like self-care?
You want to find the right type of oil for your body. Um, some people you like do better with coconut oil. Some people do better with argan oils. You just want to find the right oil for you and utilize that a lot because our skin really, beyond spending all that money on, topical products, you definitely want to make sure you get a really high quality like oil to apply to your skin because that sort of sets a really good foundation and heals your skin at a really deep level. And then from there,
The other importance of that is that your skin also absorbs the oil. So if you're using a cheap, low
yeah,
quality oil on your skin, it's going straight into your bloodstream.
and that's not good. And then from there, I take collagen. I love taking collagen. I take it at night because I feel like
Uh-huh.
it absorbs better. And then in the morning, I just feel like, oh my God, I'm glowing. So I take that before bed. That's the routine. I do a lot of hair masks,
How do you decide on what type of mask to use?
trial and error. So
Mm.
you have to, just like in biohacking, if you're doing something you want to improve your skin, you have to see how your body reacts to it over time. So give yourself a week. Try a regimen, set a regimen, like write it down even because, it's better to write something down and try it out. See what this clay mask does to your skin. See what it does when you do like some type of aloe vera mask, or if you're doing like an acid peel. Like see what it does to your skin and see how your skin reacts.
Mm.
And then you want to identify what it is you're trying to achieve with that mask. So you can then, if on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, our skin changes and issues arise. And so you have to really know in your arsenal, like what is going to work to fix that issue that you have. So once I know, okay, if I do this clay mask, it's going to revitalize my skin and help detox it versus doing, let's say, Korean masks. And the one that I really like is called Secret Key. It has like this fermented sort of essence in it. And that one is my good go to just in general if I just want to look good. Just do
Mm.
some Secret Key, put that mask on, and my skin is going to be just reset. Um, and then I'll usually take that. I'll usually do the face mask and I'll also take like a bunch of hyaluronic acid supplements, like 6 or 7 pills of them. And yeah, I'll be good to go.
I actually just heard about like what an impact hyaluronic acid makes this week. So can you talk about that? Like what is it that you notice? I've heard it's used for like wrinkle reduction.
So for me, I don't see wrinkle reduction necessarily. I just see a lot of elasticity and just hydration in my skin. I see that vibrance in my skin that when I didn't take hyaluronic acid, I would have a lot of pigmentation issues. Like one part of my face would be one color, the other part of my face would be another color. And then it just
Mm.
felt like dry and just like I felt like sort of brittle. But with the hyaluronic acid and the collagen, I just see that it's always, no matter what, it just bounces back. And I also have issues with like my eyes, like I have hooded eyes, and I typically have a lot of fluid retention around my eyes and things like that. So just all my life. So I feel like the hyaluronic acid and the collagen and all of that in that combination just help keep things moving and fleshed out. And
Hmm.
then I also do like the gua sha sort of massage. So that, I think those three things, that combo has really helped make it so that even if it's been a rough day or I don't feel good or I haven't eaten particularly well, I had some Chick-fil-A, um, I'm going to be good to go.
Nice.
So,
Well, we've been going for a while now. It's been fun hearing about your method of intersecting biohacking, spirituality, skincare, aphrodisiacs, nootropics, bringing them all together. But since we're winding down, where can those that are interested connect with you?
yeah, so you can find me on my website. It's beautybiohacking.com. And then I also have a YouTube channel, Beauty Biohacking, and you can find me on Instagram. It's beauty.biohacking. And yeah, I just talk about all of the above that you mentioned, just skincare, taking it from the topical level to the deeper level so that you don't necessarily have to feel like you have to always wear foundations. You feel like, you're tired and you don't have that vibrancy, because beauty is not just how you look on the surface. Like you could spackle a lot of stuff on your skin, but it's having that energy, that beautiful glow from within that really ties it together. So that's why I love biohacking.
Yeah, it's a great approach. Let's go on to one more question before the rapid fire round. Are you ready?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Imagine that there's a burning of books, so to speak, and all knowledge on earth is gone. You get to save the three most important works or teachers. What would you choose?
So this is easy. I would save the Kabbalion, because that, by the three initiates, that one is sort of like a really good central go-to summary of like the whole alchemy, ancient mysticism, high spirituality. It helps me at least perceive reality, because before reading that book, I just naturally thought of reality in those terms of that the Kabbalion sort of breaks things down into the Hermetic principles. So that's number one. And then from there, I would definitely save Propaganda by Edward Bernays, because I feel like we're so inundated with
Yeah.
all of these different messages. Society is telling us so many different things. And as biohackers, we already want to, I guess, say live our truth. We want to do what feels right for us. So being able to distinguish and identify what propaganda is, and feel your way through it, and also influence people around you in a positive way is great. And then also finally, it would be a lecture from Bobby Hemmett. He's this guy from like North Carolina who just went around and talked about ancient mystery systems in Egypt and things like that. And he did one on the dark goddess and the feminine principle. And it really opened my eyes to, what it is to be the feminine energy, like the power of it, because I think we always equate, we only look at power through the masculine aspect, but obviously the feminine aspect has its own set of powers that are very, they're very intense.
Yeah, and they're also rebuilding and rejuvenating. It's the opposite end of the spectrum. Like it's the opposing force of the masculine yang in Chinese philosophy. Let's go into the rapid fire round now.
Uh-huh.
What's the best or worst advice you've ever received?
Worst advice I've ever received is to just power through it, no matter what it is. It's good to have grit and determination, but sometimes if there's a problem you need to address, you need to take a step back and relax, and just not, force it, ease into it, especially with like dealing with ADHD, I found that you can't just use willpower to make yourself do something. There's actually physical reasons why you are, not able to focus or not able to accomplish something, or, whatever it is. Just don't always force it. Maybe there's a easier path. I feel like the path of least resistance is always the best one. I always think about a quote from Alan Watts, and he talks about, when water hits a cul-de-sac, it doesn't like get upset. It doesn't try to like force its way. It just relaxes and it just sort of rises up, and then it's able to move forward. So
I was actually thinking of exactly that. I was thinking of water as soon as you started mentioning that.
mhm.
What's the number one thing that you believe that no one else does or few people do?
I don't think that people really believe we have like magical powers. And I say magical powers because, we have an ability as human beings to tap into the grid. Like for me, it's summoning. I'm really good at summoning people. Just it's usually this very specific right person or right thing for that thing. And it's super weird, but I can usually, it doesn't even take anything with me. Like, for example, how I met you. I was just interested in talking to other people and getting out there and connecting. And then I sent one message or two messages and then I connected with you. So I feel like it's coincidence, but it's happened so much with like work and my life and dating that I think it's real. So yeah, we have powers and I think we need to all tap into how do we utilize them.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's one thing that your tribe doesn't know about you?
My tribe doesn't know that I'm really self-conscious because I come off really confident, almost like, I guess that's me overcompensating. I come out really just even like a bit arrogant or aloof. And it's actually that I'm just really just like super, I'm super paranoid. I'm super self-conscious and I do have issues with confidence. So yeah, you got to fake it till you make it. So
I wouldn't have guessed.
yeah, it's a delicate balance.
Well, how would you like to conclude our journey together today?
I just want to say that, it's great that you're doing this and it's great that you're helping to make this more approachable to people. That's what I'm trying to also do. I think that us, we all want to heal ourselves, but we also want to help society as a whole, because I feel like healthy people, essentially, if you're healthy and you're happy, all of these problems in society, they would never exist because people who are healthy and happy aren't going to commit, violent crimes. They're not going to be abusive to other people. They're not going to want to steal. They're going to feel abundance. And society, we're looking at, after the lockdown, all of these sort of, some would say even Orwellian sort of practices happening where you can't move around society. Those negative things wouldn't be able to permit, outside of the pandemic, they had reasons, but negative things in society wouldn't permit if we are all happy and healthy and living as our true selves. So if we can fix our health, you basically, you want to find the root cause. If you fix the health of somebody and their self-esteem and their outlook, you're not going to have all these other problems.
Mic drop. Well put.
Yeah.
I'm Nick Urban with Khadija Rossi, signing out from mindbodypeak.com. Have a great week. I hope that this has been helpful for you. If you enjoyed it, subscribe and hit the thumbs up. I love knowing who's in the 1% committed to reaching their full potential. Comment 1% below so that I know who you are. For all the resources and links, meet me on my website at mindbodypeak.com. I appreciate you and look forward to connecting with you. As a reminder, the information depicted in this video is for information purposes only. Please consult your primary healthcare professional before making any lifestyle changes.